The time to review the Battle of Winterfell is here. The episode was intense. It was epic. It was powerful. It was good. But it was also disappointing. Before we start, you may notice my shirt and wonder, James, are you homeless? No, I'm not homeless. This was a gift, as hard as it is to believe. This was a gift, a Christmas gift by a friend. He bought it off of a Chinese Silk Road black market type website. After one wash, this is what happened to it. So remember, kids, choose your friends wisely. Look, what's going to be said on here in this video, it's going to be controversial, yet brave. It's going to rub some people the wrong way, Billy Cosby style. I'm not going to promise you that you're going to agree with everything, but it needs to be said. And I think a lot of you, by the end of this video, will realize, you know what? I think those things too. Before we actually recap the episode, which we will do because it's in part of the title, review and recap, or recap and review, undecided, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room. We got to talk about why the episode maybe wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be. Leading up to the Battle at Winterfell, I think I even said last week, this would be the episode, the biggest episode of the biggest show in the history of television. And I was wrong. Not only was this not the biggest and best episode, it wasn't the biggest and best battle. You could argue it wasn't even a top 5 battle of Game of Thrones. Let's start with the first issue. The issue that was probably the most talked about. The lighting. The actual aesthetic of the show. The dark, gritty, hazy. Reminded me of the early 1990s when you had the TVs you had to kind of hit on the side with the dial, change the channels, the bunny ears. Had a little bit of that fog, a little bit of that snow, a little bit of that blizzard. And I understand it. The night is full of terrors and darkness, whatever. I get it. I understand that they were trying to portray the Night King and his presence and the kind of just chaos of war. I get it. The problem with that was that for most of the fight, most of the battle, what I was watching was a shadowy figure, a ghoul, fighting a shadowy silhouette of a good guy. And it was just two silhouettes smashing into each other for 90 minutes. Compounded that problem would be the fact that 90% of the people had beards and long hair and the same armor and the same weapons. So when I'm watching on the screen, I have absolutely no clue who is fighting. I just know it's faceless, nameless, shadowy good guy and faceless, nameless, shadowy bad guy, and they're banging into each other a bunch of times, and that's pretty much it. Which leads me to my next issue with the battle. 95% of the fighting was between the good team, whoever it may be, and just a pack of ghouls. There was never any one-on-one, intense, shining moments for any of the heroes or any of the bad guys. Think about Lord of the Rings, for example. And Lord of the Rings is probably the easiest and most common comparison to Game of Thrones. Remember the epic fight scenes in Lord of the Rings? Specifically one epic fight scene. The two wizards, Gandalf and Saruman, went one-on-freaking-one in a fight scene so epic and so incredible, I'm pretty sure it took home the Golden Popcorn Bucket at the MTV Movie Awards, which was one of my favorite award shows of the year. No one remembers Faceless Orc versus good guy. They remember one-on-one. They remember intense battle scenes. We remember the Battle of the Bastards because of the one-on-one scenario with Bastard Ramsay Bolton versus Jon Snow. That's what we remember. We don't remember the nobodies. We don't remember the scrubs fighting the other scrubs. And that's all we got in the Battle of Winterfell. Jaime, the entire time, was just fighting 50 to 100 ghouls. Jorah, his body count may be 1,000. He may have killed 1,000 ghouls, but all he fought was ghouls. Brienne of Tarth, ghouls. Arya, until the end, ghouls. Theon, ghouls. Grey Worm, ghouls. Do you see the theme here? It's really hard to ramp up the stakes when I'm supposed to believe that a pack of ghouls is going to kill Brienne or Jon or whoever. And you're going to say, well, they did kill people, and true, but I think that it would have been much more like, whoa, this could really happen, if one of the lieutenants, one of the Night King's salad posse with the great hair, would have fought Brienne. Imagine the lieutenant, Ice Lieutenant, fighting Brienne of Tarth, arguably the good guy's best swordswoman, versus the best hair in the north. And they're clanging and banging swords. And it's getting testy. And the lieutenant's got his blade to her throat. And she's got her hand on his throat. I'm sweating just thinking about it. But instead, we basically had 15 to 20 ghouls pushing Brienne against a wall and Brienne pushing back. And that's it. So that, to me, was a real issue. I don't understand why we didn't get some better character moments, better individual battles versus just the same battle over and over and over again all over the place. The next issue was the lack of death. Now look, I'm not some freak, okay? I'm not some, masochist who just wants to see a bunch of pain and death and blood, okay? That's not me, I swear. But in an episode of a show that basically promises to have me in an emotionally unstable situation, or even more of an emotionally unstable situation than usual, especially on Sunday nights, for a show that promises that, or we expect that, especially at big battles, they didn't deliver. And it really wasn't even close. Who were the big deaths this episode? Theon and Jorah were probably the main two, as far as the good guys go. Theon is probably the worst good guy in the history of good guys. This guy has done more despicable stuff. I mean, you got people screaming Barabbas, Barabbas, and they want to turn in Theon. That's an Easter joke. That's an Easter joke right there. A little late, but that's what it is. If you don't get it, what are you going to do? Theon, for the most part of the show, was a despicable man. And he had his moment of glory there at the end and died. And for Theon, to be totally honest here, that's the best thing that could have happened. This guy was awful. This guy should have died a while ago. Mostly when he was making a pass at his own sister. That's probably about the time where he should have died. Then we had Jorah. Jorah, the guy who just won't stop swiping right on Dany, died after killing 4,000 ghouls and died the exact way he would have wanted to, protecting Dany when she had no one else to protect her, and she would have definitely died. Jorah comes in, swoops in, kills some more ghouls, and then gets shanked a few times and dies. Good character, but is anyone crying over Jorah? Probably not. Then we had characters like Lady Mormont, cool character, but whatever. Is she really going to impact the show that much with a death? Not really. And she got to kill a giant, so good way to go out. Melisandre died after doing everything, all the heavy lifting, setting everything aflame, pep talking Arya. Then she goes and dies after her work's done, which she told us she was going to die anyways. I don't think anyone expected Melisandre to make it to the end. We haven't seen her in episodes, so again, no one's crying there. Ed, good character, but we still have Ed and Eddie. So the main characters were incredibly protected in a show that up to this point is known for not protecting characters. We had every character in danger, theoretically, and none of them died. The Crypts. We said the Crypts were going to be a total disaster. We said they were going to be a total bloodbath. It was going to be Thriller. We were right about that. Varys, Sansa, Tyrion, all in the Crypts, none of them got scratched. These ghouls heard Arya's blood drip, and they can't hear Tyrion trying to get in Sansa's undies? Tyrion is acting like he's on the season finale of The Bachelor, and none of these ghouls can hear this guy? He's one step away from cracking out the champagne and chocolate-covered strawberries to Sansa, and we've got the ghouls who aren't doing anything, who can't hear these two. Varys' hiding spot was just out in the open. So let's move past that. So now we go to the actual villain, the Night King, and the Freezy Boys. The Night King has been the villain, the guy, the big bad, since literally the first episode. And his lieutenants and him in the biggest battle of the show that has been 10 years in the making, 8 seasons in the making, in the biggest battle, in the Super Bowl, the Night King Doesn't really do anything once he gets thrown off of his dragon. Just kind of walks around a little bit. Turns down a one-on-one fight with Jon Snow. Walks to Bran. What do his lieutenants do? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. They are so far away from the fight. You have to take a dragon ride to even see these guys. They are on their horses so far away from... They weren't even in the game. They showed up to the Super Bowl 40 minutes after it was over. Their one job is to protect the Night King. And they're sitting there and they let him get surprise knifed by Arya. And when you have an episode like the Battle of Winterfell and you tell me to sit tight for 90 minutes, and I understand what we're going through, I expect a big payoff. I expect some answers. Yes, Arya killing the Night King was cool, but we don't have any answers for the Night King. We don't have any answers of what the hell Bran was doing the whole time. We don't have any clue about who the Night King is, his background, really why they were doing what they were doing, what their plan was. There is no answer. Now, we may get those later, and that's fine, but as far as an episode, as far as that battle, you need some closure, you need some answers. Killing the Night King, all that did was raise more questions. So that's briefly my issues with the episode. Again, look, the episode was good. The episode was epic. The episode had some beautiful scenes in it, for sure. But was it a 10? No. Was it the best battle? No. Was it the most emotional episode? No. Anyone who is tweeting or saying that the Red Wedding, this made the Red Wedding look like a dress rehearsal or whatever, they had that tweet typed up on Wednesday, and they just sent it regardless. Anyone who's like, oh, I'm so emotionally unstable after that episode, I don't think I'll be able to go to work on Monday. What the hell were you watching? Were you actually just watching the gazelle scene in Lion King? Were you actually watching Scar throw Mufasa off the ledge? Because I don't know what you were watching in this episode of Game of Thrones that got you so emotionally unstable. I mean, for the most part, for 90 minutes, we got World War Z mixed with The Walking Dead in a blizzard. And that was it. And that's okay. It's okay for an episode to not live up to the billing, to not reach the hype, for an episode to try and do too much, to be too broad. It's okay. That doesn't mean the show is bad. It doesn't mean that your fanhood of Game of Thrones is any worse. You can say that, hey, look, between me, you, and the camera, I was expecting a 10. And I got an 8. An 8 is damn good. But I was expecting a 10. And that's exactly my mindset. I went into the episode, I ate a whole medium pizza from Pizza Hut before probably the 20-minute mark. I was stress eating. I mean, I was just breathing pizza. Because I was prepared for a 10 episode for a 10 show. I got an 8 episode. And, okay. I mean, think about it. Was this episode better than Battle of Blackwater? Was it better than Battle of the Bastards? Was it better than the Battle at Castle Black? Was it better than Hardhome? Was it better than this episode with the Ice Lake where the Night King threw the spear and hit the dragon whenever he fought Jon Snow with the sword? Was it better than that? Was it better than last season? The episode where the dragons came down, fire everybody with the train or the supplies, when Jaime almost got burned with the dragon, but Bronn saved him, pushed him into the river. Was it better than that episode? Was the deaths and the emotional part of the episode, was it on par with the Red Wedding? No. So let's go to the actual recap, shall we? The episode's first 10 minutes were incredible. The silent tension building, going through the entire Winterfell castle, seeing all the characters preparing for the battle. The tension was truly there. Beautifully done. They captured every aspect of we're about to do a huge war scene. We are going to war. I felt it. And that's all you can ask for. Unbelievable stuff for the first 10 minutes. Specifically the scene where Sam is making way for Theon pushing Bran in the wheelchair. You see Theon and Bran pushing through to go to the tree. And that was when you knew, like, oh my God, the plan they talked about is happening. Bran is the bait. He's gone to the damn tree. Then we get to the actual battle. They're here. The Dothraki charge in after their swords get lit aflame. They charge in, and we see all the flames go out. And we see just the abyss. And we see all the flames get extinguished, and it's just the darkness. But we still haven't seen much of the White Walker army. Great scene. Fantastic. Loved that. Loved every bit of it. That set the tone really well. Let us know that whatever's out there is not to be trifled with. The Dothraki are totally wiped out. It already put our heroes, it put their back against the wall. So then when the Dothraki die, we get Daenerys gets on the dragon. It's dragon time. Not sure why they didn't start this strategy with the dragon. Like maybe send the dragons first, go with the flames, and then send the people. Look, I'm not a military genius, but there was some pretty questionable tactics in this fight. Like, I don't know, digging a lit trench behind your forces. Nah, I'm not Patton, but... So let's continue at a rapid pace a little bit. Ed dies. More forces get killed. Arya tells Sansa to go to the crypts. She goes to the crypts where her and Tyrion talk a little bit. And there's a scene where her and Grey Worm's lady kind of have a tense situation where she mentions how great Daenerys is. So we still know there's some tension with Sansa and Dany. Even though they're not in the same scene, that's still a part of this episode. So we still know that there's a kind of Dany Winterfell issue happening. So let's go to the tree now. We have Bran and Theon. Theon's chilling. He tries to apologize to Bran, but Bran says, look, man, everything that you did in your horrible, disgusting, just pathetic, I mean, just absolutely filthy, just sad, disgusting little life. Everything you did there led you here, home, where you belong. And this scene kind of sets up the Theon redemption, or it, just hammers it home, I guess. But it also lets us know that Bran is majorly at play in what's happening. Every decision Bran has made, everything that Bran has seen has led to this moment. He is the Doctor Strange of Endgame. He has seen the outcome. He understands what has to happen, what will happen, what has happened. And he is putting the chess pieces in play. Who's he playing chess against? We can assume the Night King. Then Bran decides that now would be a good time to go ahead and take a little break, go on a little vacay. He wargs into some ravens and takes flight. He takes flight and we see the Night King, big NK. Up until this point, I was certain NK was at King's Landing. Because remember, we're deep into the episode now. We're 25 minutes in. We've seen people fighting the Dothrakis. We've seen, all kind of stuff. But we haven't seen big NK. Now we actually see him. He's flying up on Freeze Dragon, and he is here. He's at Winterfell. He's not on King's Landing. Prediction one of mine, ripped up, throw it out the window. So then we go into the actual castle where more faceless ghouls are fighting. Arya now is really getting in it. Arya is straight wielding that staff Donatello style, doing some big things. She's showing off that she's killing a lot of stuff, and she's pretty well trained. So Arya's doing some big things here. The Hound is pretty messed up at this situation. He's not liking the fire. He's kind of shelled up. He's going full reek. And if there's any time to not go full reek, it's in the middle of this battle. So he is full reek. Hound, figure it out. Big dog Beric rolls up, sees the Hound is totally paralyzed, and tells him to take a look at Arya. She's fighting really hard, kind of snaps the Hound out of it. The Hound now goes to help Arya. Remember, Arya said last episode in her last couple hours of life, she wouldn't want to hang out with those two old cranky bastards. Well, now, in the last few hours, theoretically, of her life, she's partnered with Beric and Hound, a.k.a. those two grumpy old bastards. We get a moment where the ice giant walks up into Winterfell, and Lady Mormont standing tall. She gets a cool scene where she kills the giant. She's killed as well, but she goes out an absolute hero. And there's a lot of parallels here with the littlest character against the biggest character, the littlest character being brave in the face of the biggest character, the littlest character defeating the big character, the ultimate sacrifice, all kind of stuff going on there. But it was a cool scene for a fan favorite character, for sure. So then we go into the skies for an aerial dragon battle. They had some really cool visuals above the clouds, very reminiscent of some visuals from the latest Godzilla movie where people were parachuting through clouds. Really cool stuff visually. That there's no denying that the episode at some points, the points that you can actually see, were visually stunning, and this scene was more the same. This scene was helped greatly because the bad dragon breathed blue, where the good dragons breathed red. Very simple, works every time. That's why these damn ghouls being shadows and the good guys being silhouettes was a little more difficult to follow. So now we're back in the castle. We have Arya wounded after some run-ins with a brick wall. She's in like a library. This scene was really cool. It's probably my second favorite scene of the episode next to the Dothrakis. But this was virtually a shot-for-shot, besides a malfunctioning dishwasher door, of the kitchen scene in Jurassic Park. Arya is slowly moving around bookshelves and cabinets and all kind of stuff, while these Velasa zombies are kind of slowly just meandering around. Arya has to be incredibly quiet because if she gets the attention of one, she's going to get the attention of all. She even uses sound to distract them. She throws a book, just like one of the kids in Jurassic Park banged the spoon. It was fun to watch because those scenes are tense. Those scenes they work, and I was kind of following the Jurassic Park train. I don't know if they meant to make it so similar. And I was actually seeing. It was fun to watch to see how similar they would make it. I was kind of hoping that they would do, maybe Arya stuck in something like with a mirror, whatever, just to really kind of give us kind of an Easter egg there. But that scene was really cool, really tense. Every time Arya went around a turn, we expected her to bump into a zombie. She does at one point, but kills it immediately before a noise can be made. Arya starts to bleed, and the droplets of blood make just enough noise to where the zombies realize she's in there. This is also foreshadowing later on when Arya is very sneaky, and we have to remember she's so sneaky that her movements, her breath, her walking is more quiet than droplets of blood. Because if the droplets of blood gave her away, we can assume that she's more quiet than them. So that's a pretty crazy idea to how quiet Arya is. And it was a little clue for us. Arya escapes and runs into Hound and Beric. They kind of make a run for it, getting out of there, these long hallways. And Beric goes full Hodor, holds the hallway basically while Hound and Arya run. And he gets stabbed multiple times. I mean, we're talking like, the only way he could have been stabbed worse is if he was a waiter and OJ had just, you know what, we're not going to go there. We're not going to do the OJ waiter thing. But this guy, he got stabbed a lot. Somehow, Beric gets out of there, and Beric, Hound, and Arya go into a room where Melisandre's waiting. Beric dies, and Arya is pretty shaken up at this point, obviously. And Melisandre reminds Arya that Beric is a champion of the Lord of Light, and he was kept alive for a certain reason. This is his reason, to make sure Arya survives. Then she reminds Arya of something that she told her before, that she would kill many people with brown eyes, green eyes, and blue eyes. And then she utters the famous quote, "And what do we say to the god of death?" Arya, of course, responds, "Not today." You have to remember just how bad this is all looking for Winterfell. They are being sacked. Like, this is over. They're 80% to losing. If it was a video game, I would have already started over. I would have already quit, started over with a new life, because this one is over. But Arya runs away, and we go back to the skies for more dragon v dragon combat. So the dragons are going at it. Night King eventually falls off his dragon. Jon Snow's dragon eventually makes kind of a crash landing, which sets up what I thought was going to be Jon Snow in the snow versus the Night King. Let's freaking go. But Dany sees the Night King first, and Dany says Dracarys, and we got some flames. Dragon flames at the Night King, and he stands tall in the fire. At this moment, I thought for sure a spear was going to come through the flames and kill Dany and the dragon. That's what I thought was going to happen, and I was wrong again. Another prediction for me, see ya. So the Night King's immune to fire. That seems to be supporting the Targaryen theory pretty damn good. One of my predictions that did not falter. So the Night King smiles at Dany, very creepy smile, and just survives unscathed, starts walking. He ain't worried about no fire. We do get kind of a tease where we see the Night King walking. We see Jon Snow catching up to him. Jon Snow's about 100 yards back. Night King hears him, snaps backwards. And we think, or at least I thought, we're going to get a one-on-one Jon Snow Night King moment. Instead, the Night King raises his arms, raises the dead, and we know this isn't good. Because now all the people that were just killed, all the people that were killed in this battle on the good guy's side are now White Walkers. Jon Snow is surrounded. No bueno. Night King turns around, says, I don't want none of this 1v1, and goes back towards Bran. Let's cut to the crypts real quick. I believe we skipped this. But in the crypts, all hell's breaking loose. All zombies are running around, killing people, except the main characters. No surprise with this episode. Tyrion and Sansa hide out together. They kind of have their weird moment we talked about earlier, where Tyrion's basically trying to make a little Whoopi Goldberg in the crypts. Kind of a weird thing. Crypts were pretty alluded to early the episode before, and we knew they were going to be a problem spot, but nothing really impactful happened there. No main characters died. Nothing really to say in the crypts. So Jon's getting surrounded, and Dany shows up again with the dragon. Allows Jon to escape, allows Jon to go after Bran, because now he knows the Night King is going towards Bran. The dragon gets attacked by a bunch of zombies. We think the dragon's going to die. We think Dany may die. They don't. Dany gets thrown from her dragon. The dragon takes off, starts shaking off the zombies who look like ants at this point, and she just kind of sits there, and she's in a really bad spot because now she's got zombies all around her. She doesn't have her dragon, and Jon Snow's chasing after Bran. So Dany now again looks like, okay, maybe this is where Dany dies, because at this point Ed has died, but at this point we really haven't had a major death, and the episode is starting to really shorten. So people are thinking, is it going to be the death? Spoiler alert, it's not going to be Dany's death. Jorah comes to save the day. Jorah gets stabbed a bunch of times. Jorah saves Dany, and Jorah is the next big death. And we may be missing the order here time-wise, but Jorah's death, this is where he dies. Great ending for him, great scene for him. His character, it really fits his character perfectly to be the guy again who saves Dany when the girl that he loves that couldn't love him. All very beautiful, and Jorah went out the way Jorah would want to go out for sure. Dany very upset around Jorah. The dragon comes back, weeps with Dany. So bye-bye Jorah. What a Game 7 he had. Beautiful performance. Killed about 46,000 ghouls and protected the lady he loves. So Jorah, cheers, brother. So now Jon is trying to get to Bran. Jon's running all through Winterfell, but it's him now one-on-one with Viserion, the Night King's dragon. Jon decides, you know what, this is probably the best chance I've got, so he accepts this one-on-one. He tries to fight a freaking dragon. That's what happens. Now we're at the Godswood. Theon is killing everything that walks, every zombie in his way. He's killing it all. Theon is putting on a clinic. He's running out of arrows. I'm not sure why he only brought one bucket of arrows to this fight. Whatever. But he starts just spearing people. Theon is a straight warrior in this scene. But his time has come. The lieutenants, a.k.a. the salad posse, the Ruby Tuesday salad buffet that hair, that lettuce that these guys have. They show up. They part their sea. All the lieutenants are surrounding. All the White Walkers are surrounding. They're not moving anymore. They part their sea. The Night King, Big NK, is now staring down Bran. And the only thing between him and Bran is freaking Reek. So Bran says, Theon, you're a good man, which we know is not true. Thank you. And at this point, Theon decides that his best plan of attack is to take a 60 to 70 yard sprint with his spear at the Night King, hope the Night King just doesn't notice, and stab him. But the Night King moves, a little shimmy step, takes the spear, breaks it, stabs Theon. Theon hits the dirt. Night King kind of gives him a look like, whew, that was dumb. And now the Night King's walking to Bran. So we get now a little quick shot of basically all the heroes at their lowest point. Brienne and Jaime are overwhelmed. Jon is screaming at a dragon. We're seeing that it's pretty much over. Where the Night King is slowly walking, and I mean slowly, walking towards Bran. There's no protection for Bran. He's in a wheelchair. He can't do much. And we are, at this point, we're in that like 40-second ticker where it's like, okay, something has to happen. A lot has to happen in the next 30 seconds. And it seemingly is not going to happen. At this point, my giant brain was working. And I said, oh, I know what's going to happen. He's going to walk up to Bran and he's going to kneel. Or Bran's going to stand up. I thought it was going to be some big twist. But again, I'm thinking 5 million steps ahead of these writers. So the Night King rolls up to Bran. He's on him now. He's next to him. He's looking at him for a long time, maybe too long, if you ask me. And we see over his shoulder Arya, long jump, 40-foot long jump, Olympic gold. I mean, this may have set a world record. Leaping at the Night King. Night King pivots, catches Arya. Arya's getting choked. I saw a meme that was like, Arya was like, harder, Gendry. And the Night King's like, what? And then she goes, what? So then she's getting choked by the Night King, and she drops her dagger, just like the scene with Brienne of Tarth, foreshadowing anyone. She drops the dagger. Night King's like, what the hell? Watches the dagger go down. She catches it. Again, big brain me. If it was me, I would have had Arya drop it to Bran, who catches it, and Bran stabs it because it's Bran's dagger. But I digress. She drops it, catches it with the other hand, oldest trick in the book, stabs the Night King, same spot where he was stabbed by the Children of the Corn, whatever the hell their name was, Children of the Forest. The same way he got his powers and was created is now the way that he was killed, dagger to the kind of appendix area. So Night King's dead. Poof! He burst into a bunch of Swarovski crystals. Arya kills the Night King, and as he dies, all the other White Walkers poof. Now it's a snowball explosion. Viserion, poof. All the lieutenants who did literally nothing the entire episode, poof. All the White Walkers, poof, 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 poof. They won. The good guys won. So after this, Jorah's dead. Everyone's dead. The good guys survived. Melisandre walks off into the snow, takes her necklace off, that's keeping her alive. She kind of disrobes for some reason, not really sure why. And she dies before the full sun rises, as she said earlier in the episode. So she's dead as well. So that's what happened. That's the episode. So what? Again, I don't have a problem with Arya killing the Night King. I don't have a problem with her doing it over Jon. Jon really wasn't great this episode. I mean, I think the whole thing with Jon was that Jon's the savior. Jon is superhero. Jon is the chosen one. Jon came back from the dead. But he couldn't save his people. And he couldn't kill the Night King. And he tried to 1v1 a dragon. Jon couldn't do it. Dany, with her dragons, couldn't do it. I think we saw all these people fall. These people who were put in these crazy high positions. Dany, at one point, we thought she was the chosen one. We thought she was the prince that was promised. Or maybe, we thought she might have been something. We thought Jon might have been something. And all these people fall. And it's Arya Stark who does it. This episode was big in scope. And when you have an episode this big in scope, with as much filler as we had with the faceless ghouls fighting the faceless good guys, sometimes you lose the story aspect of it. I don't want to dig on this episode anymore because I did enjoy it and I think it was good. But again, it just felt like for a villain as big as the Night King was built up to be, to have this entire arc killed off in one moment, in one battle, in one kind of just 90 minutes where he didn't talk, he didn't raise a sword, he didn't do much of anything, just gets kind of sneak impaled. It felt like a shallow victory maybe. It felt like it was an undeserved victory maybe. It just didn't give a lot of closure. I don't think it gave the amount of closure that we were hoping it would give. Again, I feel like if we would have seen the actual lieutenants, the actual Night King get their hands dirty and actually fight leading up to this moment, then we would have felt like, well, they did go to war. It was a battle. but it really wasn't a battle for them. It was yep, this was easy. Our ghouls are taking care of business. We stroll in the front door and handle shop. We don't know why they were doing it. We don't know who they were. We don't know their names. We don't even know what they sound like. There was a lot of unanswered questions for a show or for an episode that should have answered a ton of questions. So where do we go from here? Okay. So where do we go from here? Theory-wise, the main question is, what's the deal with Bran as far as Winterfell's camp? Where did Bran warg to? There's no way he was just warging to a couple ravens and flying over and getting the Goodyear blimp view of the whole thing. He has to be doing something. My personal kind of what I'm leaning towards is that when Bran warged, he was controlling almost everybody. When Bran warged, he was the one that lit the fire. When Bran warged, he was the one, just causing all the chain reactions. He was the one putting people in place. He was the one putting Beric in place, putting the Hound in place, helping Arya along the way. So maybe when he was warging, he was kind of playing chess. And there's a theory on Reddit that Bran is the Lord of Light. And that he is, basically the theory is, the Night King is the great other. The Night King is the ultimate bad guy. The ultimate bad guy has a arch nemesis who is the ultimate good guy. Light, the Lord of Light versus the Lord of Dark. That's the main thing. So if the Night King this whole time is just focused on killing the three-eyed raven, he killed the OG one, and this whole thing was him just coming to Bran, then we can assume that that is his arch rival. If the great other's arch rival is Bran, that makes Bran the Lord of the Light. So that's kind of that theory. If that's the theory, or if that's true, then Beric is the Lord of the Light's champion. He's being kept alive by the Lord of Light, a.k.a. Bran. So Bran is, kind of controlling him. If Bran is the Lord of the Light, then Melisandre wasn't the one who created the fire on the Dothraki sword. She wasn't the one who created the fire in the trenches. It was Bran who was warging out of his mind at that time. And when Melisandre did the fire on the trenches thing, you could tell that she was kind of faltering. She was kind of wavering. She was saying the words, but the fire wasn't happening. And it gave us that look. Remember what I said last episode. It's very important what they want you to see. They wanted you to see Melisandre's doubt. They wanted you to see Melisandre lose faith. And maybe that's because they wanted you to understand that Melisandre actually wasn't the one doing it. It's the Lord of the Light, a.k.a. freaking Bran. Away from the theory world, what we do know now is that Cersei is the official big bad villain, final boss of the show. We said it last recap/review that they had to give us the final boss. You couldn't have multiple bosses in 3 episodes left. You can't have the Night King and Dany and Cersei, and it's too all over the place for 3 episodes. So the fact that they got rid of the Night King and we just have Cersei now, at least gives us a linear idea of, okay, whoever's left at Winterfell now has to go towards King's Landing, and that has to be their thing. So now we understand that. So that's good. That's good. We cleaned up some stuff. We did answer that question of who is the final boss. Something we also got was the Clegane Bowl, or what we will get was the Clegane Bowl. So the Hound is alive, the Mountain is alive, obviously for that reason. That fight that we wanted to see for so long is going to happen. The Hound is going to protect Arya. The Hound is officially a good guy, I guess, and the Hound will fight the Mountain. So that's pretty dope. And now it's just human versus human. It's straight up humans versus humans. The magic part of Game of Thrones, besides Bran, is pretty much gone. We're not fighting an ethereal being. We're not fighting a demigod. We're fighting a pretty crazy lady who may be pregnant with her brother's son. So it got a little weird there. Also, the throne could be held by just about anybody right now. Sansa, Arya, Jon, Dany, Bran, Cersei. All those people are majorly in play to sit on the throne. Varys, Tyrion. I mean, there are every major character is pretty much still here. So every major character has 3 episodes to have a shot at this thing. Jaime still has a shot to kill Cersei, the little brother thing. He could be the prince that was promised. If Jaime kills Cersei, and the whole thing was the prince that was promised has to kill a loved one, and then the sword, the Lightbringer, will reveal itself, and we'll know who the prince that was promised was. If Jaime kills Cersei and his sword lights up, then we know that he is the prince that was promised. So all these little theories circulating around these major characters are all still fully in play with 3 episodes left. So it may feel like a circle. It may feel like we went a really long way to get to the same place. We went a really long way to just get back to Cersei and politics and King's Landing and the actual throne. And we've been doing this, I guess. So we're kind of where we started, but it's more official. It's more just, okay, we know what Cersei has. She has the entire Euron Navy. She has the Golden Fleet. She has 20,000 soldiers. She probably has elephants. She has the mountain. She has the high ground, really, because they're coming to her. We know what she has. We're not totally sure what the good guys at Winterfell have. We know they don't have the Dothraki. We know they have some pretty injured people. We know they have a very small amount of Unsullied. We know they have Sam, who spent the entire episode crying, and that's about it. They don't have much, if anything. They damn sure don't have a castle in Winterfell. So we're going to see in the next 3 episodes the good guys leave Winterfell, go towards King's Landing, and we'll then get our final battle and figure out who actually is going to sit on the throne. I think next episode, episode 4, we'll see a pretty recappy episode, a pretty, okay, we're banged up, okay, we got punched in the face, what do we do now? My belief would be that after this battle, we'll see the people of the North cheer Dany on because of her dragons and all that stuff, and they may have soured on Jon a bit because Jon really wasn't as involved as he should have been or could have been. He wasn't the one who killed the Night King. He wasn't the one even fighting the Night King. He wasn't the one who really did much of anything. So maybe the people are kind of down on the former King of the North. And maybe Jon says, damn, that hurts. Maybe Jon says, these are my people. I should be the bad mamma jamma. And maybe Jon starts to show some cracks and gets a bit of a mean streak in him again. How will Dany feel about that? Especially knowing that she's not the rightful heir. How will she handle power when she gets what she wants, but it's undeserved? Because she knows that, yes, they like her right now, but if Jon wants to, he's the rightful heir. How will Sansa handle this? How will Sansa handle when she learns that Jon is a Targaryen? Because Winterfell's looking pretty bleak when Jon and Dany are both Targaryens. So does Sansa get involved and try and eliminate Dany? Does she try and eliminate Jon to try and help Winterfell out? What are her loyalties? Where's her allegiance? What happens with Bran? Will Bran help us flesh out a little more of the story with the Night King, a little more of the story of where the hell he was? There's a lot of questions here. A lot of questions, a lot of possibilities. So I think episode 4, we'll see here we are now, what do we do moving forward? It'll mostly focus around the dynamic of Jon and Dany and kind of their friction. And then episode 5, episode 6 will be the big battle, big payoff episode. So looking forward to it. This was a long recap, long review. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the episode. Were you disappointed? Hey, this is a safe space. You can tell me. You can tell me. Were you a little disappointed? Were you expecting a little bit more out of the episode? Or did you think it was the best episode you've ever seen? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you watched this far, I've had a lot of people reaching out and saying they've really enjoyed these recap episodes. So awesome. Thank you very, 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 very much for watching. Enjoy the show. I'll see you next week after episode 4.